Boom. Welcome. I already welcomed the people that are sitting here, so now it's here to you on the stream, if there is anyone. Welcome to the TechUncovered session about platform frontend. I will briefly introduce the people, the panelists, who will be the core of today. So, Marcin Walas, hello. Give him a warm welcome, please. Lukáš Havlíček.
Hello.
And Jakub Beneš.
Thanks.
Hello to all of you in the audience, and also hello to our sponsors, Muse and Outreach, where we are at the offices right now, and also Pipedrive. And that's about the intro that we have. And now, some more technical information about questions. If you have any questions from the stream, please post them as a comment to the stream. If you have any questions during the panel discussion here, don't be afraid to raise your hand. Jan there will bring you a microphone so we can stream it too, and we will do our best to answer. And with that, I will just start the discussion now. So this topic is platform frontend. Maybe it would be good to start with the definition. So, Martin, tell us how do you understand platform frontend, and what is your role in your company now?
Okay, so my role at Muse is to lead the tribe of developer experience. And how do we define platform frontend is that we think platform teams as an enablement body of any organization. So we are the ones that quantify productivity on frontend, especially in the age when you have everything basically frontend first and headless design, etc. In our view, it's very important to focus on these teams first, almost, and and that's how we basically enable our product colleagues.
Perfect. Lukáš, do you agree with this definition, or is there anything you would add?
I do, yeah. I think that enablement is the right way to put it. I'm actually from a product tribe, so I'm on the customer side, basically, of platform team. And yeah, to me, platform team is basically they make our lives easier, if I would to put it simply. They prepare the tools for us so we can do our job and enable us to do our job.
Okay. Kuba, would you add anything?
Actually, yeah, like just very briefly, I'm Jakub. I'm gonna be tapping mostly on outreach experiences where I actually do product development work. But before that, at Prague board, I was leading from a platform team. And yeah, I completely agree. The question we're gonna be hopefully answering also during this panel discussion is that, yes, platform team is enabling product teams to deliver the most value. The question is like how exactly they figure it out, what to work on, and if they are successful in doing that. So yes, but I agree with the definition.
Perfect. So now we have a brief introduction about you, but I would also like to learn about you. So can you please raise a hand if you're an individual contributor?
Nice.
Which one of you, if anyone, is from a platform team?
Awesome.
Perfect. Do we have any managers here? Oh, wow. Okay. Nice. Do we have any CEOs here? Okay, that was just a test question, so I know. Perfect. Let's move to value. So I think this is a resonating topic that we have here. Martin, as from the position of the manager, how do you approach value on a platform team?
Well, it's a very tricky topic because value is actually the most, I would say, most challenging part of our work. Basically, how do you quantify that we have impact even, right? That we deliver value. It's very easy to go through, misunderstanding the value and go to over-engineering or, defining unnecessary processes that are not really helping, but for us, they feel that they are helping. So how do we approach it? We've created our operational framework. We call it Developer Experience Operational Framework. And that framework goes through multiple phases for us to be able to find our best shots in our work. And yeah, and that framework basically starts with the data insights. We analyze and prioritize the data insights. Then we take them to our customers, which is our basically product teams. And then with them, we reprioritize the data to actually find the real, necessary value that we are trying to deliver. And then via many tools that we've created on platform, we utilize these tools to deliver the expected outcome of these. And ideally, at the end of the day, we'll be looking at increased developer satisfaction and increased product development velocity.
How do you measure developer satisfaction? That is a very interesting one.
Yeah, we do a lot of user interviews. That's one thing. Surveys, of course, you can send them, as well as basically utilizing tools like GetDX, when you can read through comments and pair up the improvements that we delivered with the customer satisfaction or basically feedback.
Mm-hmm. If there was a company that didn't have the platform team yet, what would be the thing you would look for to understand if they need this added value or not?
I would say that's something that we have to go through with the customers themselves and the teams themselves to look at what they need to be delivering, how success looks for them, and then find the gaps that they might need help with, and then define what are these gaps and where they belong to, basically. Do they belong to backend? Do they belong to frontend? Do they belong to scalability? Is it design system? Is it lack of design system adoption? We'll have to find these with them directly and then create something like a framework that will deliver them.
Yeah.
Sorry?
Yeah, I would maybe add that there might be some relation to technical depth and the shape of the company. So like if I would be assessing someone's, let's say, company and company state regarding this topic, I would take a look like how many engineers they do have and like how they think about their technical depth. If they would be managing the technical depth just right, I think it might be okay set up for them. But at some point, I think it might be one of the biggest drivers actually to create platform teams to kind of manage the technical depth in better, not maybe manage, but even like prevent from happening. Because if like teams shattered across the company are building their own products in isolation, they might be eventually creating technical debt. So platform is trying to unite or unify the solution and thus simplify it and make the tech debt go away. So yeah, I just wanted to point out that there's probably the technical debt is a term we're gonna be using in this panel discussion.
Do you think that just starting the team based on the thought about technical depth, how do you then deal with the fact if the other front-end developers are like, this is not my problem now? So this might be an interesting topic. Now we're going a little bit to the soft side of the management and approach to organization.
Is the question on me?
I'm thinking maybe.
Yeah, like there's there are. I have this like let's say plug on this. What I did in past, and I'm not really sure it was a smart decision, but I did it anyway. So I'm gonna share with you. Eventually, it played well. But when I was pitching the idea of creating front-end platform team at product board back then to CTO Dan Hale, I basically analyzed the situation. I also realized that the solutions we were using back then, and I think the developers we had, I don't know, the company was like 35, 40 people, or maybe no. I think developers maybe were around about this number. I basically figured it out that the way to create the team was to claim the all technical debt on me. So what I basically did was, hey, those things you don't like and you don't want to own, from now on, I'm going to own them, my team, front-end platform. And I was the sole owner of it. So obviously, what happened is that I was unable to keep up with the load. But I used that in order to kind of secure more headcount to the team, and that kind of ball started rolling. But there were a few months where basically I was owning almost everything, everything no one wanted to own, and that's usually bad, like thing to have or bad spot, bad position to be at. So, but yeah, eventually we made it, and I was able to hire a few more engineers to help me with that load. And yeah, we went from firefighting to something else. But I would argue that firefighting may be also a topic, like platform teams are often struggling with, and they might even create from the firefighting, let's say, they might be born in firefighting phase.
Can I ask the audience also? I've seen some hands raised with the question if you're from a platform team. Do you resonate with this firefighting and drowning in technical debt or not? Is there anyone whose topic is this? A lot of technical debt? Nobody's raising
Everyone
hands?
is without technical debt. That's
yeah, everybody's happy. Good, perfect. When it comes to the contributions, I know that Pipedrive has a special way of dealing with that. So can you a little bit elaborate on your setup, on how you try to make this happen?
Yeah, so Pipedrive uses this thing called missions. Basically, mission and tribes framework is how we call it. The whole engineering is split into basically teams around certain product features, which we call tribes. It's usually up to 20 people, depends on how large the feature is. And we can have also like joint missions between tribes, but usually it's inside the tribe. You either are on a mission, which is like a kind of focused work, dedicated team to deliver a certain feature. It's usually something between 6 weeks to 3 months or so. If it's longer, we tend to split it into multiple missions. And so it's either mission, which is mostly like product feature or dealing with technical debt of large scale, or Launchpad, which is mostly about like regular maintenance of the services that the tribe owns. So yeah, that's how we deliver with, I wouldn't say exception, but specific for platform teams is that they tend to include engineers from product tribes. So the tools they are building are actually the tools that product engineers want to use later on, which I think is a very good approach.
That's awesome. Validation basically as a part of a process,
yeah.
which is great because you avoid to create, something awesome from the perspective of the engineer, but something what no one wants to use.
Yeah, exactly.
Or it's solving different problem actually. I love it.
Do I understand it correctly that even platform team can originate a mission that they take other engineers on?
Yeah.
Okay, and now we're getting a little bit to the topic of how do you know from a platform team what to do next? And I will ask Martin, how do you approach road mapping in platform teams?
Well, yeah. So in order to get what you're going to be doing next, you first need to understand what are the lessons learned from the past, so to speak, right? So you definitely work a lot with retrospectives around missions or initiatives that you've driven as a platform team. And out of these, you basically try to fix the mistakes that you did or under delivery or any sort or form there. Also, it's very important, in my opinion, on any platform team to work very closely to your R&D strategy, because that's the document that will define where are you heading as a company, because ideally you have to use that your position is more like holistic overview of the company. And if you are positioned like that, you will have to take advantage of that and basically find the right spots of the strategy that you can support and help with and basically enable.
But it's fair to add that you are also building for the future, which also like the important piece is that, I've seen some like product strategies, like lookouts, but not every strategy I've unfortunately seen is that detailed that you can really like take it as a, like as a solid thing to work on top of. Yeah. But yeah, that's important because platform should be enabling for the product strategy, and the product strategy needs to be known.
Yeah, one thing to mention here as well is that there are many documents written about good and bad strategies, right? I think it's one of also the most challenging points to nail out your company and organization. But the most important thing I would say is that the strategy has to be a live document. It cannot be just a stable things or to-do list.
Yes.
It's the worst form of strategy, I think, just to execute on. It has to be driven by the mistakes that we are making, because everybody makes mistakes. So we should learn from the mistakes and all the errors and adjust the strategy as we go, basically, and as we grow or as we scale, because that will actually happen to Muse, that we scale up rapidly, and we have to be able to keep up with the scale. And and that's one of the ways of how to execute that. And the platform can support that rocket ship.
On the other hand, some investments might be spanning throughout many quarters, and that's it's the cycle, the delivery cycle is usually, I would say, in platform space a bit longer than in product kind of areas. So everyone needs to be aligned on that. So, and the leadership needs to be strong enough to hold through that rough times to make it finish.
For sure, yeah.
So that brings me to how does one pitch an activity that I need like some engineering force? Maybe I don't have a platform team, but I do need to get rid of some technical debt, or maybe I need to introduce a design system. And how do I go about pitching this? Do we have any experience in that?
Do you want to take it?
I can share what I know from calling, because I haven't been in Prague back then. But the tribe that's mainly responsible for front-end platform, as far as I know, started with also including some product features. So I guess it was a way for them to kind of explain their existence even. And later on, when the tools they were building were more and more adopted and more important, they were able to move the product features to different tribes and focus only on the platform. But from the beginning, they were not solely platform.
Okay.
In terms of design system, I would add that it's very easy to go either way. Basically, design system could belong to product or could belong to platform. And I think that, first and foremost, it's not great to have that division, that distinctive, basically, right? So to throw the ball over the fence, so to speak. But the main reason are like, why would you have a design system in your company? Like, what are the benefits you are looking for? In terms of Muse, we are looking for scalability, right? Reusability of the components and the ease of use of these components makes us scale better and faster, right? And that's why we decided to put a design system in the platform organization, because that's the scalability and enablement. Basically, everything lives under the umbrella of scalability, and either the backend decoupled to services or design system, everything has to be kind of contributing. That's how we took that approach with design system, and so far it works great, to be honest.
Yeah. Actually, in both companies like Outreach and Prague Board, like the design system is part of platform as well. But what I wanted to add also to the question, how to like figure it out, what to build next, and like what should be strategy regarding that. I realized that what really works fine and worked fine in my past as well is to maintain the community across the company. To really like know. We call that. I mean, like it can be named as you like, but ambassadors. Like whatever. Like. You might have front-end guild, like even though you might not have platform team, you might have front-end guild. And usually in that front-end guild circle, there are engineers who usually want to make things, the thing better, like that's kind of the mission they share. So it's really good, especially from the leadership perspective, to maintain great relationship with individuals like that. So you can kind of extract the knowledge, and kind of take them as the compass, or like shared gut feeling, let's say, across the company, and based on their feeling, you might steer it in the right direction. So that's something what I used in the past quite well, and I think I'm not really sure what's the story regarding design system and Outreach. I think since we were kind of rewriting the app, we kind of knew we should do it in a scalable way. So we take Matter UI design and like rebrand it a bit and use that. But at the Prague board, I think it started as a very custom design, like custom components, etc. And at some point, some engineer actually, Kaya, hi Kaya, figured it out that hey, it doesn't work, it doesn't scale, like we are rebuilding the model for a 5th time, like I hate it. We need to kind of unify it. So how are we gonna do it? We need to create design system. And then it was about who's gonna pick the card, like everyone wants design system, but how are we gonna make it? How are we gonna sell it to the leadership, or what are we gonna do? That's the story, right? So. And if you have platform, it's nice because usually there's some leader. You can go to that leader and like pitch it as an idea, what to do. Yeah, everyone wants to do impactful stuff, so.
I'd like to touch the topic of guilds because I think that's also very, very helpful and valuable because it usually brings people who are passionate about the same topic together. And for Frontend, for example, if they see that they are repeating the same things that don't work or could be done better, they tend to come up with solution and kind of they are the ones who can pitch it to leadership and get some support.
Yeah, I agree.
Now we're touching the point where already some platform team exists, or at least some dedicated people or ambassadors that are in the role, maybe non-officially in the beginning. But when you already have a team, how do you keep the PR up? So people still want to, the company still want to keep you, there's no cuts, or basically the company, there can be a moment where they're like, okay, there are so many features we have to build, so all of you leave what you're doing and go back to the product teams. So how to keep the PR up? Maybe I will ask Martin, how do you do it, that you get to keep platform teams?
So basically, it's about for us. It's not like you have defined people that are owners of certain process or the other, right? I think it's overall, and to touch on the point about the communities as well a little bit. It's more about the areas you can control and the areas you can basically influence, right? So if a product team can do it for you, that's great, right? If they have enough buy-in of your products, they will advocate for that, right? It's very hard to get. I understand that. I call it becoming Kim Kardashian of front-end development, because basically it is about influencing, right? It is about how you are presenting your products to others and seek that early buy-in, the latest, and drive the change. Because at the end of the day, we are talking about driving the change. You cannot forcefully take a product team and make them adopt design system, for example, right? You will have to work with them and try to get their buy-in. So that's basically how we approach it. And I think that is a ongoing long process. It won't happen overnight. No one expects it to happen overnight, but we have to do our best, with over communication and reaching out to product teams, even to the point when you normally embed your team with the product team. That's fine as well. Why not, right? The only thing you can basically not do is not to advocate for your own products, because that's why you made them, right? So I think that's the take that we took.
I love it. It's also super frustrating, right? Because you might build something what you consider to be great, but then you realize that the adoption is not there. And I think I tried both approaches, like the brutal one, you need to do it, period. Works, but I wouldn't say it's ideal. Probably the best is really if you convince people somehow that they really want to do it, right? And what I used in the past, and I think it works great, is to really be kind of conscious about naming things right. I mean, one thing is to have design system, but I bet everyone's design system is somehow named, right? I mean, Atlas, whatever, something fancy, whatever. And I think that's the key, there to kind of create a story, compelling one, to really figure out something fancy, sexy, whatever, that everyone that they want to be part of it, right? You can kind of sell it as a, hey, I mean, no one is using it yet. You can be the first one. You're gonna get I don't know, sticker for that, or something like that, or extra support, something. I think you can, if you think about it in this like marketing-ish, like internal product thing, in internal product way, it can really like bring, you know, results. Because at the end of the day, it's just a product, right? Internal one. You have better customer feedback loop because you can really like create a meeting room with them, you know, invite them into the meeting room and like be like, oh, so tell me, you know, like, is it really like such a piece of whatever? I mean, like, be honest with me, right? You can really like, get the feedback immediately. The feedback is faster, so you can improve faster as well. So that's great. I'm super passionate about it actually. And stickers and like branding and over communication, you know, like kind of road shows. We even like did road show in the past where we really prepared some presentation, targeted specifically, let's say, for different teams because different teams, they have different needs. Then we created a meeting presentation for them, like with sales pitches, basically like Steve Jobs style, you know, like to kind of get them on board. So they know like whom to reach, like how to start even, because it's usually about this, how to start. And yes, it's about how to secure, you need to pre-align the leadership as well, but let's imagine that you have pre-aligned leadership and you need to somehow convince the people because they might be like, something new, I don't want to work with that, right? I'm used to my gulp, I don't want to use anything else. So.
Also might be a good idea to pair up with your design organization. That's what we did at Muse, literally, because they are experts on how things look, how things sell, how things should, reach your expected audience. And in the past, we struggled a lot with basically the communication process around our features, our tools, our libraries that we enabled for product teams. And one of the solutions to that was to literally, okay, let's learn some marketing, let's learn the design properly. And for example, in terms of design system, we are working very closely with our design operations tribe or team. And they are helping us with also the package, so to speak, right, around the product called design system. And that's how we basically try to break the wall and reach our product colleagues. So that's also definitely a great idea to do.
Awesome plug.
Yeah, I think the communication is the key, as was already mentioned. Jakub also mentioned like the problem is starting it. What I've noticed helps is sometimes platform engineers actually go out and make a pull request in service of the other tribe.
I agree.
And then when they see the PR and they can actually see that, oh, it's not that hard to use, and or later on they see that it saves them, I don't know, it's easier to debug or it's faster, it's just better, then it's much better to explain why they should actually adopt it.
Yeah. And you are also solving the problem with kind of sometimes, inviting product people and vice versa into the kind of mission team, which then basically someone is already adopting it as a part of a implementation, which I think it's actually an awesome way. And we did that in past as well. And it's better because usually if you develop it in isolation, the first iteration is going to be not good. That's just how it works. Because customer needs, right? Customer needs are always different.
Okay, let's talk about the dangers of platform team. We talked about over-engineering here. I think that might be a topic. Maybe we can take a look if a platform engineer is a little bit different from a regular front-end engineer, maybe for people who are thinking about which team they would be excelling at better or which team would fit them better. And maybe let's talk about these dangers too. Lukáš, I know you have like overall experience as a full-stack dev, and that you've been on missions that helped empower this platform team of yours as well. What would you say is a profile of platform engineer? Are they different from regular front-end engineers?
It's a good question. I guess in a way, yes. Generally, I think that they tend to enjoy more playing with the tooling, obviously depending on what they work on. And also just the fact that their customers is basically different. It's us, right? It's not the end user. So the feedback loop is different. The feedback itself is different. So yeah, I think they kind of need to accept the fact that there's sometimes like this kind of proxy between what they build and what actually reaches the customer, because sometimes they just enable some feature to be shipped to the customer, to the end user, basically. But on the other hand, the feedback might also be better, because from product, I guess that end user tends to reach out when something is not working, and the feedback tends not to be very nice, as opposed to gathering feedback from like inside the company from product engineers. Then the feedback tends to be more constructive.
Also, you're getting feedback from other professionals that speak your language, which also helps, I think. But I also think they can be more brutal in some way. I don't know what is your culture about code reviews, but I've...
Constructive honesty.
Radical candor, right? All the way. Yeah, but to the question, like, I was thinking about it quite often, quite a lot actually, like, if it's the same type of engineer, or actually folks who like to work in platform are somehow different in compared to folks in the product teams. And surprisingly to me, I figured out that let's say not everyone enjoys, tweaking Webpack config, right? I thought that everyone is kind of enjoying that, but not really. Someone is really, thriving for creating, let's say, buttons, modals, and like some fancy animations for end user. So that's definitely something what's important to keep in mind. And I kind of also feel that and that's why I like the framework, the mission framework. I think it might be very beneficial for everyone, including that one individual, to kind of migrate between product and platform, to really not let themselves to be living in this ivory tower, which might actually happen if you work in platform for too long. But to maybe plug a bit something from Outreach, what I consider to be, I think it's interesting for sure. We have many teams. The teams are usually shaped in a way that they are function-based. So front-end team full of front-end engineers, back-end team full of back-end engineers. Like reporting to different managers, etc. And what I realized recently is that we have a lot of front-end, let's say, internal products, kind of like platforms, developed also as a part of those product teams. So, for example, I'm working in like admin experience area, so I'm working on settings basically, and a lot of checkboxes, and we maintain this form framework. Also for other teams to use, like if they want to make their forms easier. And there's some other, like framework in the team next to me, like maintaining some tiles, tiles framework. And I realized that almost every, like product team, at Outreach is maintaining some kind of internal product, which is also kind of confusing, right? And we realize, hey, we probably need to unify it somehow. Maybe it will end up, in platform, but then like we would have to move all the folks, to platform, and then who would be doing that product work, right? So it's difficult.
Yeah, but we actually leverage this a little bit for the design system, because like the base was mostly built by platform team, but with the base ready, and we have all these like kind of niche use cases that different product types need. The current ways is kind of inner sourcing in a way that there's the platform team or designers. We even have alignment team, which is responsible for making sure that the designs are, like from UX perspective, somewhat aligned. And when some product type needs to add something that's not part of the design system, the idea is that they would go to alignment, ask, hey, do you think this makes sense to be added to the library, the shared library we have? And if yes, then they can add it on their own. They don't need to go to platform team and ask them to add it.
Yeah. Makes sense.
And is alignment team focused on the design part, on the user journey, or are there also some developers?
Design part.
Design part.
Yeah.
Okay. That brings me to a position of platform team in the organization, maybe in the org chart, and if there are any negative and positive effects. And we can start from a one-man show and go to the bigger and bigger. But a one-man show, I know, Lukáš, definitely you have been there in Česká televize. Where
yeah.
did you belong? How the team worked, and what was the plus and minus of the setup?
Yeah, that was interesting. I actually remembered it just when you said like teams split between front-end and back-end, because we are working on this video on demand platform, and it was a greenfield project, which in the beginning, well, beginning was like over 2 years. It was divided between like strictly front-end, strictly back-end, and all these roles. And on front end, we were responsible for building website, building an administration, building this like shared components library, even maintaining GraphQL server. So one thing I think could have been done better is to kind of like start splitting it sooner. The second thing that they have changed after some time is that they have actually introduced these feature teams, and they started like mixing backend developers, front-end developers, designers, and everyone loved it, and they said that it helped a lot because if nothing else, just the fact that it like breaks this artificial wall between the teams was very helpful, and even the delivery was much faster later on.
Love it. That's awesome. By the way, like you asked some time ago, and like silos is something what might happen to platform teams quite easily. And yeah, you know, like there are strategies how to avoid it by putting, you know, like product teams and sharing the knowledge, etc. But yeah, like function-based teams, they basically create silo, right? I mean, like backend team owning half of a feature doesn't know like how it works on it.
Yeah.
On the other side, you know, like, but it's one feature, right? I mean, like the customer doesn't care if it's front end or back end. They care if it does what it should do. So yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Like backend team would be preparing API without ever seeing design or the front end part. Yeah. Then when we got it like half a year later, it wasn't doing what we needed to. And then like, you know, it was like this kind of bad blood that they thought that we don't know how to use it. We thought that they don't know how to build it.
Yeah.
And if you share one team, you can just...
I can imagine the relationship between like backend and front-end guild, you know, like...
Yeah.
Oh my, again.
What sometimes helps is if it's a smaller team, you just go for a beer and talk about it, but obviously it doesn't work always.
Yeah.
Jakub, can you also share your way from like the one-man show, starting a platform?
Yeah, like I think I was lucky, definitely. I managed to hire huge help at the beginning, like Martin Hochel. You might know him. He's running a few communities as well in Prague. And so together we started to rebuild the thing and like create more value. And then we kind of figured out how to present the value. There's no single recipe for that, but we were basically able to claim some victories, and based on those victories, we were able to, you know, like scale it.
And this was at Product Board?
That was at Product Board. Like here at Outreach, I'm actually the user of someone else's platform. If I don't, you know, like count in my form framework, which I'm kind of selling very heavily, but the adoption is not there yet. So I'm looking at the whole problem of platforms from a little bit different perspective now. You know, like I think it was super valuable for me to kind of see it from the perspective of product developer. But the thing is that at Outreach we don't really have those full cycle teams, right? We are front-end part of settings, and we have teams doing back-end part of settings, and sometimes we misunderstood how to use the API, which is like unfortunate, right? Since we should work together. So yeah, so I'm more, let's say, not really criticizing, but I'm kind of exploring the ways how platform teams is kind of trying to gather feedback from me. Like I'm also trying to proactively deliver the feedback to them so they can kind of work with it. But one thing is delivering the feedback, but the second part of it, and we already touched on that, you know, like there needs to be someone, and usually it's engineering manager who needs to be really good in prioritization, and they kind of need to know how to do this project/product management, because that's that's the key, right? You can be delivering the feedback, you can even collect the feedback, but if you don't know how to prioritize it and how to put it on a roadmap, then it's kind of useless. And then you might kind of create this vicious circle of sadness because you are delivering the feedback. They are like, yeah, we know it's not good, but nothing is going to happen with that. So, you know, like 1 quarter, 2nd quarter, and it's still the same. So at some point you like, okay, whatever, I don't care anymore. So, you know, it's about maintaining the positivity, and yeah, it's tough. It's tough. I also figured out that it's very hard to fight for headcount. You know, like I think every platform team I was not part of, every platform team I've seen, you know, like at the company I was working with, the same we have here. Like the discussions about the headcount for the team is always super difficult. But I think it's important discussion to have, because you need to really like balance it out. Like, are we gonna source it out from the product teams? Are we gonna fund it and make it bigger? You know, like we might create silo because there are always more problems to solve than people to work on those aspects. So yeah, it's really about enabling and working with community. I think the platform team needs to be really stellar to work with the IC community in the company, to enable them to really support them so they are ambitious, but also that they have the courage to really like push for changes, and the empowerment needs to be there basically. If it's gatekeep, and like we had problem in past with that here at Outreach, you know, like to kind of that we have really like huge code owners file, so everything is owned by someone, and you know, like sometimes if you want to make some change, you know, you need to somehow make it happen, and it has its own quirks, so you need to really like be, you know, one thing is control, the second thing is be informed. Do you need to really like gatekeep it, or you want to be informed about those changes? You know, like again, it's about drawing the line somehow. I might be, you know, like interested in knowing that you are touching the code I wrote, but maybe it's fine if you touch it. But sometimes it's, please don't touch it like until I see it. You know, like it's a different story, right? And it would be nice to distinguish it. Unfortunately, code owners are kind of global setting in GitHub, so if it's turned on, you are really like, hey, please, can you really like do the review for my PR? It's waiting for 1 week already, so it's, yeah.
It's the same experience. Like I'm not sure if there's a better thing out there yet, but especially if you need to share a file between tribes, then it's very complicated, like just with code owners. So you need to somehow decide who actually owns what. This is actually a topic that we have been discussing recently, still are, because it's not always quite easy to decide, because you can have multiple point of views. You can view it from, like, I'm part of tribe who owns email and messaging features. But do we own like everything related to that, even though it's in other tribes' service? Yeah. Do we want to have the control like from the whole product flow, or do we strictly care about like technical separation? Yeah. And I guess there's no easy answer.
Can we track back a little bit to organizational structure, where to put the platform team, if there are any pros and cons, and maybe anything you would like to add to the discussion here, Marcin? Where is the platform team in Muse in the organizational structure? And
potentially they will be everywhere, because that's the idea of enablement, right? But yeah, platform team is a separated department of platform, and we have 3 tribes: developer experience, product security, and engineering, and infrastructure as well into that, and data. And then they have their respective teams. But also, to the risk of platform, like something like, I wouldn't agree that something like gatekeeping, it will be a good or positive trend in the company, because actually the idea of platform is to be fully transparent. So we should not strive for things that, you know, are only owned by a very small amount of people. It should be easy to understand for everybody, and then everybody can contribute, because that's the idea about any enablement, that you also have that contribution path. It can be design system, so people can contribute to design system if they need to, or it can be a backend or frontend service that can be contributed to the platform platform area of observation, I'll call it like that, because it's not even a department or a service. It's more like we know which services we are observing on, we know where things are, and if someone wants to contribute to certain part of the product, they can. So I would say the platform organization-wise is it's supposed to solve some problems that you are seeing at your organization or scale up your organization. That's why you would potentially create platform teams. So I think the biggest point is to actually self-reflection in organization. It's like, what problems do we see? Where do we know how we want to grow our product, and then with product teams, how would we go and to do that? For example, if you have missions team, they are usually long-term initiatives, like 3+ months, for example. But I would say the con of missions team would be that they are not full cycle teams, right? So each time people rotate in and out of mission, they have to go through that, Tuckman cycle of forming, storming, etc. Every single time, and that might be costly for your organization. So you have to be very aware of which tools you are implementing to solve your problems, right? But ideally, I would say, you have product and platform departments, and they will collaborate together on to delivery.
Mm-hmm.
By the way, the design ops are part of platform, or they are part of design?
Part of product, yeah.
Yeah, part of product. So design ops is product.
Yeah, but
so
then with platform, actually, we have the one overlapping part, which is design system, and that's why we decided to pair the two together.
Got it.
So we are basically not really one team department-wise, but we are so closely aligned that we act as a one team, and that really speeds up things when we talk about design, redesigning, rebranding, and all of that stuff. I think it's much faster and then much more efficient, because that's, again, we are looking at efficiency and we are looking at performance, basically, at the end of the day. We are creating high-performing teams with these decisions, right?
Yeah, I love the plug on high-performing teams. It's probably out of the discussion, but we can discuss it later. I love it.
Okay, and I will ask one more questions about potential problems. So we looked at the organizational structure. Now I will have a very broad question. If there's anything else you were struggling, and in the meantime, while you will think about it, I will ask Jakub about the experience. I would like to talk about the threshold. When you really turn from a company that doesn't have a platform team to a company that has the platform team, and what is the process that needs to happen. We talked about PR and value, but what are we talking about in Product Board? It happened. It was your experience. So how long was it? What was happening with the company? Was there any change when it comes to headcount? And what numbers are we talking about? And is there any moment where you think companies should reconsider if they still need a platform team?
Yeah, so I'm gonna be answering it's some time already. I'm gonna be tapping on the Product Board's experience, right? So because in outreach, that's also interesting. Since the product was rewritten, they figured out that they gonna create some team was gonna be owning, let's say, the framework from the day one. So that's also interesting approach. But back then, I think there was one moment which was really the one why we decided to create the front-end platform back then. And funny thing is that we created front-end platform before we even were thinking about back-end platform. We were focusing on front-end mostly because back then at Prague Board, the majority of the complexity was actually living on a front-end, side. We can discuss it later, but that was the reality, right? We were living in. The back-end, that was kind of okay, but the platform was booming with the complexity, so we really saw the need to create such a team. And before that, Prague Board was using something what they named Cleanup Week, if I'm not mistaken. And the idea was that there were 6 weeks of basically work, product work, and then 1 week of cleanup. So 6 weeks, then cleanup, 6 weeks, week cleanup, etc., etc. So in that 1 week, you usually were able to fix some outstanding problems, do some improvements, maybe tune up some whatever configuration. And at some point, I'm not sure what happened, but we were skipping those cleanups. I think maybe product was pushing, or I don't know, maybe we were unable to defend the time, but it was like, but we really need to ship it. So can we just postpone the cleanup week? And we were like, of course, let's do the product delivery, right? We are all eager about the emotions on the customer side, so let's deliver great stuff. And like we were postponing it, and obviously, eventually we had to pay the debt. And that's probably the moment where I kind of joined, and after a couple of months, I realized, oh, I don't like this. Like we need to improve it, but I don't see the way how to do it. So I figured out maybe I can enable myself to create this team, and we can fix it. But it was difficult. Obviously it was difficult because just to claim the problems, you are not solving them by that, right? Everyone is like, now it's Jakub's problem. So good luck with that, So it took us really long time. And eventually we figured out some problems are also lying in this design system area. So we were kind of pushing for design system at the beginning. It was part of a front-end platform, but we really tried to separate it because I was thinking about design system more as kind of solely focused product team, like their product was design system. In case of front-end platform, we were kind of having multiple products, so it was also like in a different mindset, let's say. And can you imagine like having stand-ups where like half of a team is like kind of thinking about multiple products, and one team or one part is solely focused on design system. Like we don't care about the rest of it; we just care about design system. So. Yeah, we were able to split it at some point. So I was managing two teams, like, I don't know, like 8 people together. Golden age of platform, but yeah.
How big was product board at the time when it comes to development?
Yeah, I think we started with platform engineering around like 30 engineers or something like that, maybe 20, 25. So quite early, I would even say. Maybe, and that would be probably better. If I would be in the same situation, I would be probably pushing more in the direction. Maybe we can somehow still figure out with our platform. Maybe we can improve some processes so they really can own their technical debt. And it was kind of shortcut I saw, like to create a team which would improve it. And back then, I think at the end, or like when I was talking about design system and front-end platform, it was like 80, 90 like engineers, something like that. Yeah, maybe at the beginning it was 20 something and like 80.
Mm-hmm. Marcin, how big was Muse when front-end platform started? Do you know, or do you remember?
No, I don't know because I was hired way after that period. But I think it was very quite early in the history of Muse. So yeah, probably similar story to Jakub's. And yeah, I think that definitely the problem that we were facing at the time was, communication, going into rabbit holes of our own controlled areas and not letting that go, right? Definitely trying to basically find our best bets because that was, I think, the essential root problem that we've seen and we couldn't foresee it at the time. Like we couldn't figure out why things are not happening, right? Why design system, for example, has a low adoption, why our front-end libraries and tools are not being used, right? And it took us a while to figure out, how to navigate through that because platform overall has, I think, the ability to literally take on anything you would like. But usually their whole platform department would be structured end-to-end, so we have back-end, front-end, and design, right, into the department, and you can literally say like, okay, I'm able to do anything I want because now you have this holistic overview. You see clearly when the product needs your help, and that's, I think, one of the biggest problems when you're trying to create platform teams is that you have to really know where to place your best bets and how to measure them, right? You work with metrics a lot. You work with data insights from various sources. We, fortunately enough, have also a data team in our platform, so we are same organization, right? So we can reach out more often, have closer alignment with them, and utilize tools like Databricks, Looker, and to get the data insights that we need to look into the product products, basically, right? And try to find the most impactful ones. Also, we created a scorecard system that will help us, navigate through them and actually also potentially improve our work, because if, for example, we see that we are lacking visibility in our work, we can pick the product that has very high visibility and help them first. So you'll be always highlighted throughout the whole company. And we did that actually this year. So we picked something really big and we helped that enable that. And yeah, and it was really awesome ride with that. So we learned that, yes, work with visibility and don't be afraid of kind of influencing others. I think it's awesome.
Yeah, I think that's the phrase we can all bring back home, Kim Kardashianing the development. And how about you, Lukáš? Do you have any
Yeah, I have
inputs on
second that.
problems?
I also think that it's very important for platform teams to measure the right things and sometimes choose things that have the biggest impact to later on get more support for other things that might not have the biggest impact. I feel like I know that the platform team was front-end platform specifically was created about 5 years ago in PyDrive. And I think a lot of it was related just to developer velocity taking a toll by, accumulated technical debt. And like, for example, there is this like legacy monolith on frontend, which uses Backbone still, and even finding people who know it, is tricky. So with these things, it's actually easier to show the results to the leadership, and then get more support for things that might not be that obvious, but still valuable. And even showing that the changes you do actually have an impact, even on the revenue, I think is also very helpful. But yeah, velocity, developer satisfaction, also a lot of service, tracking adoption, being Kim Kardashian, because sometimes it can actually happen that you are not able to convince enough people. This happened to us, sadly, for example, with GraphQL. I mean, we had some setup, it was working well, but we have different locations, and just not everyone was sold on the idea, to the extent that after some time, the leadership just decided it's not worth investing in anymore, because not enough people are using it, and we don't see the traction there.
Yeah, it's a cool story.
All right.
Sad story.
Yeah, sad story,
But still, yeah.
full of learnings.
Do we have any questions from the audience? Now would be a good time.
I would have a question.
Can we have a mic, please? Awesome.
Mic check, okay. Hey guys, my name is Opi and I'm a front-end platform engineer working in Postman. And in Postman, we use data before making any decisions. And for this reason, we have a lot of monitoring. To give you some examples, we are measuring the Webpack reload time, the duration of the continuous integration pipelines, number of ESLint suppressions in the code base. And my question for the speakers would be, what is your approach to the monitoring and what metrics or attributes are important for you? Thank you.
Who wants to take the question?
That's a tough one, but I don't have that many things to say, so it's gonna be fast, and then you can kind of expand on it. But maybe very briefly, I love it. I think it's kind of essential to have great relationship with that data team, or someone who can kind of teach you how to visualize the data in Good Data, Looker, or whatever solution you have, because you can answer a lot of questions with that. One thing is to measure the internal, let's say, platformy thingies like Webpack. I'm not sure if we are measuring that here at Outreach, but I'm also not part of the team making the decision there, so I don't want to speak about it. But regarding the front-end solution overall, I think it's worth to say that we have kind of unified let's say, abstraction for tracking something we call scenario in Outreach, and I think it's super cool because basically, I don't know, making some action, like it's kind of scenario you track, you have some marks, etc. We have unified abstraction, and what's important is that everything is being sent and fed into Datadog and other sources through our, let's say, proxy. So we are not losing any event. I saw some implementation in past where you were directly targeting segment IO, for example, and obviously, like everyone is using AdBlock and AdBlocks Plus and whatever block. So segment is not, like you are basically throwing it away. And then you have skewed results, and it's very hard to make informed decision. But yeah, like sometimes gut feeling is all you need, right? So. Yeah, sometimes it's obvious, so you can make the decision and like spend few of your, how it's called, influence points or influence currency. If you've been with the company for long enough, you can say like, trust me, and hopefully it's gonna be right. If not, then you're gonna lose it, right?
So we have a different approach at Muse. So basically you can measure everything, and I guess you should be interested as a platform team into everything because that goes to the holistic position that you have at the organization. But what we do is we are mostly interested in the products that we support, right? So we, for example, measure everything from adoption to performance of these products. Now the question is always how you identify this product, like how do you know that a product tribe or a team should be measured from platform, right? If they're only using, let's say, 10% of the tools that you provide. And that's actually also one point that I don't think we touched upon on this talk was you are, as a platform team, you're also the body that broadcasts these metrics to product team. So that's actually one form of enablement, that you inform everybody what's happening in their own products. And these products, at Muse, we use a golden task, basically, which is basically flow by flow. It's not product team by product team, but it's more like application flow by application flow, and you have a way of kind of prioritize these flows and say like this is most important one or this is crucial one or not. So basically we measure everything from the adoption of our products to the performance of these flows, plus on top of that as well how internally these flows work to the metrics of front and back end services running on them and how fast they are and how performant they are, basically, to the database as well.
Yeah, I think for us it depends. We have like more generic things. We use Datadog. We have used New Relic Lake. We measure build time of bundles. But what I also think helps is because even platform teams use missions. And the way missions work is that, in a way, you need to pitch them. And one of the things is that you have outcomes of the mission, which you like expect. What do I expect from this mission to bring to the company? And as part of it, you actually need to have some measurement in place to be able to validate that this result happened. So yeah, I think that this helps a lot. It very much depends on what the mission aims to solve. Like it can be measuring some metrics on like time to load or how often do we hit some APIs or if we cache it on front end and stuff like that. So yeah.
I would also like to link this approach to anything you want to do differently in the company, because if you need a buyout, if you need people who will support a change, it's probably good to have some numbers. If you were successful or not, and if you contributed to being faster or more efficient or brought more value. I can relate this to design processes. So if you're trying to change the company to work in a way they talk more to the customers, and it initially takes some time to set up, to bring the skill into the company and to set up the lab and have everything set up. It takes a part of the capacity of the design team, etc. And there always is a time of reflection, and it's good to have those numbers. And I'm really inspired here to be more PR related in the way that I really resonated with what you said about bringing the data to the company, because I think there are some things that we don't measure now in Koshik CZ, where I'm a lead product designer. And bringing in a different approach might enable us to actually pinpoint some more things that we could measure and give us insight about how our customers actually interact with our eShop.
And also, if you're talking about measurements, it's often like a common, let's say, rabbit hole to get the right data all the time, and people are afraid of being, let's say, off by a percentage of or a number. As a platform team, you're also working with satisfaction. So your data could be, I intend to change something from unsatisfied to satisfied, and that's the change, right? So not always it has to be by up by 10%. It can always be also be satisfaction metrics, for example, right? Or or any other like that. So I think it's also important for the platform teams to understand that your position gives you the ability to be able to influence changes basically in the company, and I think that's really cool stuff to be cool problems to be solving.
By the way, in your case, you have B2C actually. You're in a B2C segment, which is fun in compared to B2B. So like it's a different type of work. I can really imagine that you can, like with scanning the metrics correctly and like answering the questions somehow and improving something, what might not even like look significant, it can really like change, make a huge change. So that's good. In B2B.
Did we answer the question? Yeah. Okay, we have, perfect. Thank you as well. We do have some remote or?
Stefan. Oh, yeah.
Hi to YouTube. Thank you for the
Hi.
question.
Do you recommend that the front-end platform team should have its own product owners, or is it not necessary?
Yeah, like in my case, I'm used to engineering manager set up, kind of owning the agenda and like roadmap for that team. So I would be kind of curious how it works. With engineering manager and product owner, maybe the setup would be different. But yeah, speaking for myself and for outreach, even product board in past,
Well, we do have. I don't have the comparison, honestly. So if I would recommend, I think that it helps with getting the support. And in our setup, I guess EM and product owner tend to deal with slightly different things. So having the product owner, I think, helps.
And like the relationship with them, they are kind of like buddies, like selling the thing together. So yeah, like that's probably the best, because otherwise the engineering manager, they need to be great in actually communicating also towards product and like executives and
exactly
selling that. Yeah. That actually works pretty cool. Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, I would say, but by the spirit of not putting everything on one person, I would say what works best for us is to create the trio. So our products are owned by the trio, which is basically the engineering, design, and product part. And that within that trio, we make the decisions. Now with platform,
in platform as well,
in platform as well, actually, because what happens in platform is, for example, you have a design system, and now design system touches design, right? So you need a product person in that, and actually that's a very crucial role, because that person also advocates for the product itself within the product. So it helps us to bridge the gap between product and platform, which usually, again, if someone starts the platform team and they go their own ways, especially when they are skill-based setup, they will create a very distinctive gap between product and themselves. And I think positions like product managers are the bridge in between. And also we have a technical product managers, which is basically another product manager variation focused on more front-end services, for example, or back-end services.
We have some experience with the TPMs as well in outreach. It's definitely interesting topic. Probably we're gonna offline after the questions, but we can dive into it if you are interested in that as well.
So I see the after party will be long.
TPMs, right? That's the topic. It's gonna be a heavy party.
Exactly.
Okay. Do we have any more remote questions? No. Any from here? Okay.
Thanks, Stefan.
Let me say. Oh, we do have.
Mic check. I don't think it works, or maybe. Yeah, hi, my name is Renat. I'm from Muse. I'm a PM, actually. And Maciej mentioned basically how we reach out. I'm part of the platform. I'm a PM in platform, so you might.
Cool. Nice. Awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, Maciej mentioned how we reach out to product teams, how we try to like get their feedback and get the input and then build the roadmap. But I don't think neither you or Lukáš had the chance to maybe expand on how you do that in your companies. So maybe you could tell us a little bit, because like I'm also looking for maybe ideas.
Yeah, like very simply put, and again, like I'm gonna be more tapping into product board's experience than in outreach in this case, but I think it's very comparable. If I will be speaking from EM role, which I'm currently like IC, I'm staff engineer there at outreach. It's basically how I imagine, like PMs should do it. So I'm basically reading the same literature. I'm kind of trying to do the same. So that means that I'm conducting interviews. I'm kind of working with the feedback. I'm prioritizing that. At Product Board, I was using Product Board to go through the feedback, prioritize it, like assess the value, and then based on the user impact score, or how we call that at Product Board, I was making the calls, right? I was definitely struggling back then with the load, because if you are managing the team, you are conducting one-on-ones, like with the team, you are trying to work on their careers, like it's demanding role plus this PM, like responsibilities. It was much. It was I would say too much. So I would appreciate probably someone very close to me as a PM, maybe with more knowledge. Someone I can learn from, right? But yeah, that was the situation we were playing at. So I was kind of playing by the rules we had there. And in platform, in compared to Muse, I think we were missing the tripartite there. Like we had like engineering, design as well, but the PM part was kind of missing. So it enabled us, like in some case, like we were kind of trying to sell it as a win, right? At least we are faster, whatever, because like it's obviously easier to figure out something if you need to make the decision between two people than between three people. But I agree that if the relationship is healthy between the tripartite, it's win for everyone.
Allow for a stalemate, right?
Yeah,
it's always 2
that's
to
true.
1. So
yeah, that's
like you might disagree, but majority thinks that way, so you commit.
Yeah,
to a certain
agree.
decision. Yeah.
Agree.
And Lukáš, maybe.
Yeah, for gathering feedback, some things are similar, like interviews, surveys, just gathering feedback from like higher level, let's say. And then what I've noticed is it's actually not official, I guess, but we use a lot Slack channels, and like when something is released, it's usually presented during this like regular meeting, and then they advertise like, hey, if you have any feedback, here's the Slack channel, and feel free to reach out if anything.
Yeah,
and we have quite open culture, so it's not like people go there and start shouting that it's bad. But if they don't like something, they say it. So this is, I think, maybe even more valuable to gather the feedback, I guess, because it goes like quite low level in a sense that it's single or like engineers themselves saying specific things that they would maybe change, and then it can start discussion with other engineers pitching in.
Cool, thanks.
I would link this to design again a little bit, because I think every time I'm not sure about something, I try to pick people who do and then make a workshop with them. So this I would play to ambassadors, and I would ask them, what are the problems I should focus on? And maybe from that, I would get some key measurements I can look at. Because it is similar, like you're trying to get yourself into customers' shoes every time you design something. Yep. This is the same thing, but the customers are the devs. Yep. So I would try to make a think tank. Yep. And
it's also good to use your own products, which is sometimes, like it's not that, this dog feeding, yeah, exactly. It's different. Yeah, yeah. I think you know it's obviously like natural. I think everyone. I mean, like we are working in companies and we are trying to use our products, right? It's important. Otherwise, you might be really like completely wrong. You might be providing some experience you wouldn't be able to use on your own. So
That's a very good point, actually. I guess not every company can do it on a large scale, but our support engineers actually use it. Our sales use the Pipedrive, so it's very valuable input that we can get like early on before releasing to a large audience.
yep.
Okay, we're nearing a wrap up. So maybe what are the key points you would like our audience to take home today?
Definitely the one about making a change and having an impact on the business itself. I think platform again is a very unique point to be able to do that. So I would like to everybody to think about front end or back end. That yeah, you are the one that could definitely drive the change and make everybody else happier in the organization. I think that's very cool thing to do.
Very cool.
Yeah, for me, Kim Kardashian will definitely stick. I believe it's very valuable to have platform team, but it's also important to realize that a lot of times it's a lot about communication and convincing people to get the support and then to actually use your tools or whatever you've built.
Kuba?
Yeah, plus one to that. Maybe the thought would be like, hey, platform is basically like product, but your customers are internal ones. So like just think about it as a like be product developer or product person, and like you're gonna deliver a great platform. Just focus on the correct customers, your internal one.
Okay. So thank you so much for the discussion.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming. There will be some refreshments after this, so feel free to stick here. There definitely will be more discussions between Kuba and other people. We've already seen that. So thank you so much for coming, and see you on the next Tech Uncovered.